Hey guys, and welcome to Pheas Airsoft, where today I'm going to do a disassembly on this double bell 813S or 416. Hey guys, and welcome back. If you do enjoy this content today, please do consider liking, commenting and subscribing, because those interactions help me get seen by the YouTube algorithms. That helps the channel grow. You want to support the channel a little bit more, the Linktree link down below will take you to my socials and my Discord. Make sure you stop by and say hello and give me a like and a follow. If you want to support the channel a little bit more, the join button is down below. It takes you to channel memberships on YouTube. 99 pence a month, totally optional, really appreciated. That gives you custom videos, custom giveaways, your own private chat in my Discord, and a say and a bit of control about the channel, the videos, you know, the things I get into, unboxing, that kind of stuff. Again, totally optional, really appreciated though if you do it. So, following the unboxing then, we're going to do a disassembly to see, identify and help you with repairs and maintenance if you need that sort of thing. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to get rid of the mag out of the way. I'm going to drop the stock off, make sure I don't catch the mini Tamiya. Now, let's have a look. There we go. So what I had to do there was not only push that all the way in, but you have to pull on this lip, because what that does is, if you can see down there, it removes that pin, which stops it going any further. So, oh, it's actually a 5-position stock, so I must have jumped over some of those positions in the unboxing then. So I need to make a note when I edit the unboxing is to comment on that it's actually 5-position in there. So next thing we're going to do is, we already know that it's a T6, I'm guessing. Let's try. So I'm going to use a Torx 6. Oh yeah, Torx 6 to undo that grub screw in there. So it technically is a hex head, but Torxes just bite a little bit better. So you need a Torx 6 bit to undo that, and then it will unscrew negative. This outer barrel will also come off, negative thread. Again, it's going the wrong, obviously unscrewing the opposite way to normally what you would expect, to give me access to that. So next thing I'm going to do is have a look at releasing this bolt to remove the rail unit. So need that, something quite chunky. First time. So I have got a Torx 30 on this. There we go. So there's the big screw. So don't forget, that is the orientation that this bolt came out at this side. The one underneath is the same, so they go in as a pair like that, and the bolt head was on this right hand side. That now should, in theory, possibly just release that. So I'm just going to go off camera a little bit and just, yeah, it's I'm not going to take it any further because I don't want to run the risk of not getting it back on, but it is coming off. It's just wedged on tight, so it just needs separating, but it will come off. Yeah, it's going. So I'll just push that back in. So we know that that will come off relatively easily. It just needs, it says relatively easy. Just obviously going to need a little bit of time and effort to work that through. I'm just going to put that back in place and drop that through. Don't think that is not a mounting hole for a securing point. So I assume that is a mounting point for something else. If you know what it's for, comment below and let me know. I'll just secure that back down. So that's if you need to get your rail off. Job's good done. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to knock this front body pin out and separate the upper and lower. So what I'm going to do is, I'll find one, just you're going to use a Torx because it's a flat end to punch this pin through. So I might need to take this off camera actually. So just took that off camera and used the screwdriver like a punch. A few people have commented in the past, why am I not just using punches and things? Because what I'm trying to show you is with limited tools you can still do most of this stuff anyway, so just giving you resources to think about. So I'm just going to separate this. The dust cover is stuck on the screw, the body pin, even not screw, is on a tab, so it will come out only so far, enough to allow the body to slide apart. So there is the top of our gearbox, which we'll come back to in a second. Got a vented cylinder. We've got a red, it's even got its size on it, 21mm air nozzle in there. So put that down. So there we've got inside of here our charging handle assembly, which pulls back on the dust cover like that, just so you can see in there. And we've even got a little spring that's helping the dust cover to return back to where it should be. Now in terms of our barrel then, let's turn this hop fully on and see what we've got. Now it is a little bit mucky, and that's the hop fully on. Now I did have to get quite a long distance to get 2.5s to hop, and there still was a little bit room, so it might struggle with anything much heavier than a 0.25. So if you are thinking sort of 2.8s, just keep that in mind, that it may not be up to that job out of the box. So slide that back in there, and the barrel probably needs a bit of a clean as well, maintenance wise. So now back onto this then, let's have a look. That appears to be attached to, so this little handle appears to be screwed onto this little rod here, which looks like that's pinned into that. So let's start off with the easier bits. I'm going to put that in first. Let's get the stock tube off first. So I need, oddly enough, it's a mixed thread screw down there. So I'm just going to use, I've got a big long flat head here. So let's tip those out. So there is the screw and retaining bracket there, and that's the orientation that it was down in there. And then I'm just going to carefully slide that out. So there's our stock tube. This does move, so you can tighten it up or down. And then just inside there is like a collar that this sits up against to keep it nice and secure. We've then got our, what would normally be a sling plate, but it's just a filler plate at the minute, so you could replace that with a sling plate, and that is the type that's used. Why do I feel like that's a gas blowback type, not an AEG type? I could be wrong. We have got, wow, nice feature, a quick change spring in there. So let's have a look. So I'm going to use my flathead, punch in and quarter turn, and it pops straight out. So there is our metal bearing based spring guide. There is our spring. That's quite a short little spring, and that would suggest that the spring has been clipped down to bring it to UK FPS or close to it, which that quick change spring system is quite nice, because all I would have done is remove that back section to change the spring. We're going to come to the pistol grip next then, which is just these two screws to remove this. So let's have a look. Let's put that to one side, we don't need that anymore. Is it a 10? Nope. Is it an 8? Yes. So we've got a Torx 8 then on these two screws. That's one screw. Again, make sure you're keeping things together so you don't lose anything. Oops. It's really tricky leaning over a table, teching like this on camera. So, release that. There we go. So there's the wiring. So there's the orientation. The red wire at the minute is coming up the front onto the red terminal. The black wire is coming up the back onto the black terminal. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to disconnect those, and we'll see where they're coming into the pistol grip at the bottom. So there is our motor, standard double bell motor. Now the red wire literally comes directly into the pistol grip at the bottom, up the front, and the black comes in at the back and up the back and onto their two terminals. Hopefully my camera is catching that nicely. Get that out of the way. Next thing we need our long Phillips head to get the two screws in there. So we've got one this bottom corner here, one this top corner here. When you're holding it in this orientation. It's the typical standard location for these grips, these screws to go. So let's drop those out. Be careful not to snag and pull these wires too much, because quite we don't want to damage anything. Now what I've done is I've left 2 screws in. It just makes my life easier. It doesn't mean they're going to stay in there, but for now they're happy enough. Now I am suspecting I'm going to need to disconnect those and that. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the mag release. So I'm going to push the button in, and hopefully we're going to at the minute that is fighting me. Right, instead let's switch to this. Let's see if T6 will do the job. We'll come back to the mag release. So I need a T6 on there. I'll come back to the mag release in a minute. So to get this assembly out, I've got a T6 on there. There's a T6, and that little lever, I'm guessing, should that's even stuck to it at the minute. So let's have a look next. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to push this pin out. Is it going to go? Right, I'm just going to take this off camera and I'm going to push this pin out of here. So I just took that off and just punched this pin out. So the teeth are on that side. I'll put that up there with this. And that should, right, if I push down on this, at this side, that releases the little lever under there. So I'll show you again. It went under and then it hooks into a little hole in there like that. So I'm pushed down on that and that releases that. That now has sprung up, and that looks like it's coming free. Ah, there we go. Look, there's a little pin on it. So it pins in and screws in as well. So I'll just show you that again. So now it's sprung up. There is a little pin that goes into there and the screw as well. So that assembly is all sorted. The mag catch is still a problem. Ah, hello. I have just discovered in the top of the mag release button there is actually a little tiny grub screw. How unusual. Right, okay, so let me get my precision set then and we'll see if we can sort that. So I've been and got my precision set then. So I've got a 0.9 hex head bit. So, you know, a precision kit is pretty sort of needed. And that is lifting the grub screw up and out. In fact, you know what? No way is that how it's retained. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that all the way out. It is actually how it's retained now. I wasn't expecting that at all. So the grub screw then, I'm not quite taking it all the way out. So the little grub screw is what held the mag catch in place, and there is a hole in the shaft there for the grub screw to go down into to secure that. So that now, there's a spring, there's the mag catch. Now the last thing really to do is for me to see, I'm pretty sure this is a VFC style selector. So that means I'm going to have to take off these two selectors and remove them carefully. So I've got a T6 on this side. And I've undone that screw. I'm going to very tentatively, so there is our ball bearing and our little spring and our screw. That comes off one side, so I'm just going to keep that to one side. And then we can see the gears underneath. I'm going to flip that over. And I'm going to do the same again on this side, T6. And then there is no ball on this side. Now, if you look at the two, they are two different attachment methods. So this one has got obviously like the sort of protruding shape in the middle there and the ball. The one on the right hand side has just got like a notch down from the top. You can see that. So this one is the left side, this one is the right hand side. So just keep those there. Now, famous last words. We need the trigger pin out, which is this one here. I'm just going to take this off camera and punch this out. Typically I've gone the wrong way. There we go. So the trigger pin then, the teeth are on this right hand side here. So keep that in mind. Now when I push the back pin out, there we go. Let's move these to the side. This gearbox should, there it goes, it's coming up and out. There goes a gear, a little spring, which we'll figure out in a moment. There comes the wiring. So there goes the receiver. Flip that over now. This little spring has got some little hooks on it. So I need to figure out, I'll figure those out shortly when we come to do the reassembly. But there is our gearbox out. Our quick release is removed from the back. So next thing I'm going to do, what I'm going to do next, I wonder if, no, anyway, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just pry this off. So I'm just going to use a little flathead to get under that gear there, and I'm just going to separate it out because it is shaped and linked through to the other side. They will only go in specific, as you can see in that hole there, that is a D shape in there, which matches with a shape on there. And then for this gear here, that is the safe position. You can see that this little lever's pushed sort of out like that. That is the safe position. So you know how to orientate it then to link through to the other side. So next thing I'm going to do is remove all of these screws out of here, and we'll check what's inside the gearbox. Just a point to note that these three screws are different to these two. So make sure you keep them in the right order, and those are obviously different again. So let's get our Phillips head. Screws. Again, making sure I've got the screws in the right order. Okay, so I've noticed as well, bearing based gearbox bushings, which is quite a nice little touch. The fact that they've got the size on the actual nozzle is quite nice as well. Just finished doing that. There we go. So we've got in there a full metal tooth piston, which is quite nice. We've got a double O-ring piston head, which is nice. We've got a standard trigger trolley. We've got a standard safety cutoff, fairly solid looking gear set. There is really good effort actually at shimming in there. There is some really good effort, and I would agree, you know, with that, because when I was doing my shooting tests and the unboxing, I did comment how nice it actually sounded to shoot, and it sounded really smooth. So the last thing really to check in here, there's not too much grease. So first of all, that is an O-ring type nozzle as well. So what I'm looking for is compression. So what I should do is put my finger on there to seal the compression, and there we go. Look, if it was bad compression, that would just go in all the way to the bottom, but I am literally, you can see there's like a springiness to it. That is really, really good compression. Let's see what it's like with the nozzle on as well. Now there's obviously a little bit of an air leak, as you would expect, but that's still excellent compression. I am really impressed how good that compression is in there. So we'll drop that back in. So all I've done is I've put the assembly together. So I've got the piston lined up, the nozzle on the end of the tappet like that. Yeah, on the end of the tappet I've got the spring on. I'm going to hook the spring on and pull the whole assembly back. So hook the spring onto its little post. Oops, missed. Stretch it back. There we go. Make sure the wiring goes back in place. Now the anti-reversal latch has jumped out. The safety's in place. So the piston, it's got its tracks on this track down here. Everything's back in nice. Keep that compressed down. These teeth of the sector gear I've kept down below so they're not engaging, excuse me, with the piston. So all I'm going to do is reset the anti-reversal latch. So I'm just going to take this gear out first. Now these can be a pain in your backside. So I'm just going to hold it out. So what I've done is it's on a little spring arm that's springing it out. And this is what happens when you try to do it floating in the air. Right. There we go. That's on. There. That's in there. I'm holding it open with my thumb whilst I drop that gear back into place. Keeping the wiring where it should be, or as close as I can. Right, now I'm going to quickly bring in the top half of the gearbox. Just going to make sure that the shims there, look, just line up better with the hole. So the shims are the little washers that are on top of or underneath our gears to help position them better within the gearbox shell. So I'm just going to drop that down. And I'm going to use a little screwdriver just to position things. And what you should find is a little bit of moving about. There we go. And when it settles, there we go. Moved it about a little bit, used the screwdriver just to position things to drop into place. I can see that the anti-reversal latch is still in its slot there underneath, which is what I need. I can see that that's moving. I can see that I can move that as well, which is good. Happy with that. So now we can put the screws back in and then I can try and figure out where that little spring goes. So again, there are two different types of screw. The panhead go in the screw at the back and the screw just here, the cone, go in the other ones. So make sure the going back in the right place because you don't want to damage anything. All the threads are the same, it's just obviously the heads. So that's all back together now. So I'm just going to have a few seconds just to see if I can figure out this little spring. Do you know what? My own videos came in and saved me. So this gets orientated around like this. The spring then, pop that up and off. Got it stuck. Brilliant. There we go. So the spring has got a longer arm and a shorter arm. So what happens is the longer arm goes into this little hole like that, little hook. It gets hooked round on there and then the shorter arm, as we bring it round, goes under let's do it the other way. So that goes on there and it rests up against there we go. There we go. So hooked it in, pulled it round, and whilst pulling on this, and that rests under there. And there's a point underneath that it rests against to keep it pushing up like that. Now, what I found is when it drops underneath, which it should do, it's springing and pinging out. So for now, what I'm going to do is I've rested it up against here until I drop everything back into the receiver again, and then things should be a little bit easier. So next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to have to keep my eye on that and obviously hope it doesn't go off. So my selector on this side has stayed in safe, which is good. I'm just going to hold my finger to that, keep it in place. I'm going to bring the other gear in for the other side, which is, there's only one way round that will go, and there it is. So I'm just going to compress that back together. There we go, it just finger pushed back together. We need to bring this connector in now. What I need to do is look at roughly where is safe going to be. Okay, so my phone just ran out of stories there, missed a little bit. So let's jump back, pull that out a little bit. There we go. So put this connector through. This is safe, pointing up like this. I've put this spring resting under here just until we get this in, and then I've fed everything delicately back into here. Just get away, you body pin. There we go, that's in place. I'm going to put that body pin back in now while I can, while the getting is good. Help secure it. The power wires have gone down there and come under this gap here, not the other way, because they would have got nipped, crimped back there. And they should go in like that. So next thing I'm going to do is, while I'm here, is we're going to bring this little part back in, and I'm going to secure this back into here while I can, and put the little screw back in. Again, remembering we needed a precision for this. No, we didn't. We needed a T6 for this. Oh no. There we go. So, if you're having to force anything against threads, then you're probably going to ruin the thread. So make sure that, you know, what you are doing is in the right place in terms of threads. So I'm just going to push that back down. There we go. So that's nice and springy as it should be now, and this is helping to retain it back in the right place, and the spring can't spring back out. What I'm also going to do while I'm here and messing is I'm just going to feed that under there, and I'm just going to connect that into that little hole in there, and then I can put the little pin back in, teeth out at this side, oops, you in. There we go, and I'm just going to tap that back into place off screen. So that's gone back into place now, nice and happy. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the trigger pin back in. In fact, let me just check. That side, nearly the wrong way. So remembering the teeth are on this side. That's gone back in. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the selector on at this side. Again, it will only sit in one way. We need the T6 on that to secure that down. That's secure. And then I'm going to bring the selector back in. Again, being careful not to lose the ball bearing and the spring. They are well on there with the looks like there's plenty of grease on it, so I'm just going to drop the screw back in, bring the T6 in and secure that down well I can. There we go. So now I've got my ambidextrous selectors working again. Happy days, that's all good. So the next thing, I'm going to bring the mag release back in. I'm going to drop the spring in like that. Then I'm going to bring the button in. Remember that it went down from the top. This is where we need the precision, so it needs to go back a little ways, and then we're just going to screw that in, and it should nicely take itself down into that slot. I'm going to take it down inside the button. There we go. So that's nice and secure now. So we've got that secured in. We've got a working bolt release as well. So the next thing we can do is we can get the pistol grip on. In fact, you know what we'll do? We might as well put the spring and the spring guide in. So I'm just going to drop those into place like that. I'm going to use a large flathead to push in. There we go, quarter turn, and it should lock into place like that. Nice and happy days. Now I'm going to put the pistol grip on. So I'm just going to be careful. The red wire came up the front and stays at the front. The black wire comes in at the back and stays at the back. And then I'm going to use the long Phillips head to secure that down. Just got that one started. Get those secured down. Those are nice and secure again, keeping the wires separate because they're going to go back in. Then I'm going to bring the motor back in, so the red goes to the front, the black is at the back. Now it should, famous last words, should fairly easily just slide. There we go. So I just manoeuvred the wires a little bit. Okay, the red's gone in the wrong way. So the black ideally needs to come this side of this little post. The red needs to come to the other side of its little post. And then the motor, there we go, should just freely spring up and down like that. There shouldn't be any friction in there at all. I'm going to put the black wire back on, and I'm going to tuck the wire down the side there. What I might want to use is just a little flat head just to encourage that wire down there. And I'm going to do the same with the red. Put it on. I'm just going to encourage that down there, and that should freely bounce up and down. Then I'm going to bring in the base plate. Again, that should go flush without any real effort. I'm going to bring the T8 in. I'm going to screw that in. Again, it should be freely springy. There shouldn't be any issues whatsoever. That's one screw in. Drop the other screw in. I believe the front screw is slightly shorter than the back screw, so if both screws have come out, make sure you know which one's going where. There we go. That's the pistol grip back in. Next we'll get the stock assembly back on. So we'll bring in our sort of mock sling plate. So there is a indented and extruded. We want the extruded side to go in like that. That's where we want that to go. Then we'll bring in our stock tube, just wiggle it down, and then I'm going to put it on here, put this wiring out to the side a little bit, and then I'm going to drop this down. What I'm trying to maintain is an orientation like that, or as close as possible. Not quite, but near enough that it should work. What I can do is use, and I have done, is I've just used my screwdriver just to position it, and then I'll get my flat head into the screw. There we go, and then get into the threads and screwing down. I feel that's going in. Tighten down, and there we go. I can see down there the wires are not getting crimped. It's close enough that I'm happy with that. And then the next bit, we can bring the stock back in. I'm going to pull that all the way down again to let it back on. And the end cap can come back on. Done. And then last but not least, I'm going to poke that through. Push the front pin back out. Slide everything together nice and gently. Make sure that the dust cover, ejection pot cover is not getting in the way. Lock it up. Tap that back in. And there we go. Done and finished. So, I hope that's been helpful. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it immensely. Please do remember to like, comment and subscribe. And I will see you next time. Bye.